They put me in the ambulance like I was a criminal, not a sister who had just emptied her bank account for her little brother. My pulse slammed against my ribs, my hands shaking as the paramedics whispered about suicide risk like I was some kind of headline. I wanted to scream at my parents, at the world, at the universe for letting this happen. But the sedative hit like a hammer, and everything went blurry. The betrayal burned hotter than any medication could dull. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe and share. Your support keeps the stories coming. I'd given them everything, my savings, my trust, my hope that Merrick could have a shot at life with that experimental treatment. Every penny I had gone straight into his care while my parents, smiling in their Sunday best, secretly wired themselves a fortune to buy a yacht. A yacht! I found out because the confirmation email popped up on my phone while I was trying to block my bank account for safety. The smugness in their faces as I confronted them at the family dinner felt like knives carving shame into my chest. "Why are you making this about money, Sienna?" my father asked, leaning back as if I were the one losing it, not him. "We're just securing a future for the family." My mother's eyes glinted with practiced concern, but her fingers fidgeted with her napkin like a kid caught stealing candy. I wanted to laugh, cry, and punch every wall in the house all at once. Instead, I left, storming out only to find myself dragged into the psychiatric ward a week later for being a danger to myself. Inside, the sterile white walls pressed down on me. Nurses spoke in soft, condescending tones. I was stripped of autonomy, mocked for tears that weren't real breakdowns but reactions to my life being stolen. And all the while, my parents were moving to file for conservatorship. Every day, they painted me as unstable, a ticking liability, while secretly celebrating their newest yacht adventure. I couldn't even access my own money to fight back. It was during a rare, unsupervised phone call with my best friend that I realized something. I wasn't powerless. I had been underestimated, mocked, humiliated, and trapped, but nobody knew the quiet hours I had spent studying the law, memorizing statutes, piecing together evidence of their fraud. Nobody knew that I had recorded every suspicious bank transfer, every manipulation, every lie. I smiled at the thought, a small, dangerous spark, because if they thought my compliance meant surrender, they were about to learn that silent effort has a way of exploding when you least expect it. And just when I thought I had a moment of peace, the door clicked open and my parents walked in, smiling, confident, like predators that already believed they'd won. My stomach dropped, my fists clenched. They had no idea how much I had learned and how fast I was about to turn every ounce of their greed against them. I remember the first time I saw Kaylin, my forensic attorney. She didn't smile, didn't offer empty sympathy. She leaned back in her chair, scanning me like she was already solving the puzzle in her mind. "They think you're fragile," she said, tapping her pen. "They think fear will make you fold. Let's prove them wrong." I nodded, every heartbeat thrumming with a mix of hope and anger. For the first time in months, I felt like I had an ally, not a psychiatrist, not a parole officer, but someone who could see the truth. We started quietly, methodically, piecing together years of deception. Every bank statement, every insurance claim, every email they thought I'd never see. It all told the same story: theft, fraud, and manipulation disguised as parental care. My hands shook when we found the first concrete evidence. My parents had been using my brother's medical expenses as a front for wire transfers, siphoning funds into offshore accounts while the family yacht gleamed in their backyard. I wanted to scream in triumph, but Kaylin reminded me, patience wins wars, and right now we were still in the shadows. The first public test came sooner than I expected. At my cousin's engagement party, they flaunted their success, their eyes scanning the room for my reaction. I walked in, wearing confidence like armor, keeping my smile polite but my mind sharp. When they spotted me, my father's jaw tightened, my mother's gaze flickered, tiny cracks in their armor. And then I dropped a casual line to my aunt about my recent work with federal investigators on financial misconduct cases. Silence. Eyes widened. Murmurs rippled through the room like a cold wind. The power dynamics had shifted, invisible yet undeniable. I was no longer the naive daughter they could dismiss. Back in the legal trenches, Kaylin and I dug deeper. Every witness who had been intimidated into silence started talking when we presented irrefutable proof: insurance fraud, identity theft, falsified documents, even attempts to mislead court officials. My parents had built their empire on lies, and now the walls were crumbling. I watched them squirm during depositions, their practiced composure cracking under the weight of their own deceit. They had underestimated me at every turn, and now, in slow, precise strokes, I was painting the full picture of their crimes for the court to see. Then came the climax, the hearing that would define everything. The room was packed, whispers ricocheting off the courtroom walls. My parents tried their usual tactics: charm, intimidation, dramatic sobbing, but Kaylin was ready. She presented every document, every recorded admission, every wire transfer. Witnesses I'd never met personally stepped forward, recounting stories that exposed my parents' years of manipulation. And in the midst of it all, I saw the look of disbelief on their faces, shocked that their own lies had betrayed them. The conservatorship motion collapsed. The tables had turned entirely. But the real shock came when the judge read the federal charges aloud: wire fraud, identity theft, insurance scams. My parents were taken into custody right there, their empire of manipulation unraveling in real time. I felt a wave of vindication, a surge of freedom, but even as the handcuffs clicked, I realized the fight wasn't over. The damage they'd done to my life, my reputation, and my trust wasn't undone by one courtroom victory. I had survived, yes, but survival was only the first step towards reclaiming everything they tried to steal from me. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt the sun hit my face like a promise I hadn't allowed myself to believe in months. My parents were gone, facing federal charges, but the victory wasn't just about their punishment, it was about me, reclaiming the life they had tried to steal, brick by brick. The weight of their manipulation, their lies, their endless games of control, it lifted, leaving a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I could breathe again. The weeks that followed were quiet, almost surreal. I returned to work, a promotion waiting for me that my absence had almost cost, but now every handshake, every project, every nod of recognition felt like a personal triumph. I could finally enjoy the financial stability I had built before they tried to strip it away. And more than money, more than titles, I had boundaries, real, unshakable ones. No calls at odd hours, no subtle guilt trips, no stolen trust. I was my own person again, untouchable in a way I had never imagined. Then came the real test of strength, my first family gathering without them. I walked in, shoulders back, eyes sharp, but there was no fear, only calm observation. My extended family watched, mouths slightly open, as I casually recounted my latest achievements: a successful career milestone, investments I had safeguarded, and yes, Merrick thriving thanks to the treatment they had tried to sabotage. Whispers of admiration rippled through the room. For once, I was not the mocked, underestimated daughter. I was the one everyone noticed: quietly brilliant, unstoppable, untouchable. And it wasn't just the family. The day I finally closed the last case documents against my parents, the full extent of their crimes revealed, I felt a satisfaction I didn't expect. They had built walls of intimidation and fear, but every lie, every manipulation, every ounce of greed had become my ammunition. I had turned their power against them with patience, strategy, and unwavering resolve. Standing there, signing the final papers, I realized I had not just won a legal battle, I had reclaimed my dignity, my finances, my peace. That night, I sat with Merrick, watching him laugh, carefree and alive, completely unaware of the storm we had weathered. And I smiled, because in protecting him, I had protected myself, too. I had learned that family doesn't always mean safety, that love can be twisted into control, and that the fiercest battles are sometimes fought in silence. I had survived humiliation, betrayal, and manipulation, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, and free. The world hadn't just given me back what was mine, it had given me something better, the knowledge that no one, not even blood, has the right to take your peace. I leaned back, closing my eyes, feeling the weight of the past finally lift. I was Sienna, independent, strong, unstoppable, and this was only the beginning of the life I deserved.